This is our first ever emergency podcast of the Hardline Sports Talk, episode 76. I'm Michael Merlo, and I'm joined by John Michael Masiri on what is a very gloomy Sunday night here in New York for almost half the town. JM, you're doing a lot better than I am. How are you tonight?
Um, I'm good. I'm not laughing at you. I just think it's hilarious that you've been doing this tomahawk chop all weekend. I
No,
feel
I
bad
get
for
it.
you. I genuinely feel bad for you. It sucks. I wish this didn't happen for the Mets, but uh I would ask how you're doing, but I'm pretty sure I could guess.
Yeah, I'll try and keep a smile on my face for as long as possible.
Mhm.
You have been one of the only friends that I can come to in comfort this weekend, so I want to thank you for that. You're the only reasonable one I've dealt with. Um,
Thank you.
Terrible weekend, obviously, for the New York Mets, who this is the reason why we're doing this emergency podcast. They go to Atlanta and get swept, as you know. Um, I just went into my FanDuel Sportsbook account and placed a $20 wager on the Atlanta Braves to win the World Series because you've watched this team since June. You watched them against the Mets and you say, how does anybody beat them?
Yeah.
How does anybody beat that team? We had Joe on a couple of weeks ago. We gave kind of a World Series prediction. I think it was early September. I said Braves win over the Astros, and I don't think I'm changing that. They're really good. They're really, really good.
I mean, first of all, this the sweep is it's brutal. Like I'm not gonna
No need to
can't
sugarcoat.
can't sugarcoat it
No
exactly.
sugarcoat.
It's brutal. The Mets, I would say they had their opportunities. The Braves just struck when they got timely hits, right? They hit when they needed to.
Home runs.
Um, they played great defense. Michael Harris is a player. I mean, he's great. Um, and Dansby Swanson, I mean, hit a home run in every single game. He's
So
gonna
did Olsen. I
he's
think.
lining. Did he go deep Friday night?
Yeah.
He did. Yeah, he hit that wall scraper last night, right? Off
Yeah.
Scherzer.
Olsen
Mhm.
couldn't hit anybody for the whole
Yeah.
month of September.
Olson, you saw that stat they put up yesterday, right? Olson, Riley, and Dansby had all been struggling.
Yeah.
And they
Oh,
all yeah. Um
it's a perfect time for them to play the Mets. I mean,
so I mean it sucks. Yeah, obviously. You guys had first place for literally the entire season. What was it? 2 days you weren't in first place, but the Braves had first place basically?
something like that. I mean,
Yeah.
over 95% of the season, maybe
Yeah.
even 97% of the season. I don't even know.
So now the only shot you have is to sweep and the Braves to get swept, right? Because don't they have the
Yes.
tiebreaker now?
Yeah. So Sunday night's win, they get a tie break. They get the tiebreaker. The magic number is 1. So, you're looking at the Mets now. They will be playing a playoff game on Friday night at Citi Field. They'll be playing the San Diego Padres. That's how this swings. The Mets needed one win in this series to control their own destiny, to go out there and beat the Nationals the next 3 days, and they would have won the division. Even if they won tonight after a terrible Friday and Saturday night, all they needed to do was win one game. They had Jacob deGrom, they had Max Scherzer, and they had Chris Bassett all go out there. And, you know, I've looked at it a different way, especially when it comes to Jacob deGrom now. I was pissed after Friday night's performance and then really went back on and looked at it and said, Jacob deGrom went into one of the toughest places to play against one of the best lineups in baseball, gave up 3 big hits, and sure, they were all solo home runs, but pitched his ass off for the most part for 6 innings before he had to come out with a blister. So it's a tough place to play. The Mets offense didn't do anything that night. The Mets offense didn't do anything over these last 3 games, and that's the reason why they lost.
Right. I mean, another thing though, the Mets, like they had 11 hits tonight. They scored 3 runs.
Yeah, can't
So,
happen.
and you said it to me before. You said, the playoffs, I'm realizing it's not about having great pitching. It's about being able to, like, everybody has great pitching in the playoffs. You need that. But what separates you from the other teams that also have great pitching? It's being able to string together these hits and have these big innings. And the Mets haven't been able to do that. And the Braves are able to do that. I mean, Bassett, he didn't look that bad to start the game out. Then all of a sudden, he gives up a couple hits. Then he hits Riley with the pitch. And then all of a sudden, he's in these high stress moments. Darno's working the count against him. And then he leaves a little spinning curveball that he tried to get in the dirt, ended up knee high. Darno hits a 2-run single. So it's about wearing down these pitchers and having good at bats and striking when they make mistakes. That's what the great teams do.
The funny thing is, I think a lot of people, if you asked them a month ago, what do you think the downfall of the New York Mets would be? And I think myself included, I would have told you it's going to be the bullpen. The bullpen is going to be the reason why the New York Mets don't win a World Series. And I don't think that's the case anymore. I truly don't know. It's going to be the offense if it's anything, but they need to get big outs, like you said, when they have to. They're going to have to maneuver things around. They need timely hitting, and they don't have that right now, and they haven't had it for weeks. They're not clutch at the moment. And until that comes back around, if that comes back around, that's going to be the reason why they advance in this postseason.
Scherzer too. I mean, they got to get him right. He's right there. What was that? His third start off the IL. I trust that he'll be fine, but he didn't have his best stuff last night.
Yeah, if I had to rank concerns of this team, Scherzer wouldn't be too high on the list.
Yeah.
The only thing I think that would concern me is injury, but again, I'm not too concerned with Scherzer. It's just deflating. It's just deflating. I think back on all these great moments you've had all season long, and sure, it still has been a great season and it's not over yet, but the road to where you have to go is so much more difficult now. And on top of it, now you have to, either way, you would have had to face the Braves, but you have to beat this team. And I just don't see a way this New York Mets team is able to beat the Atlanta Braves. I don't see it.
So now what's the scenario they're in? They beat San Diego, let's say. Who do they play? The Braves?
No, they play the Dodgers.
I'm probably happy, honestly, if I'm a Met fan, that I had to play the Dodgers because you can't beat the Braves in general at this point, but you really can't beat them in Atlanta. And now you'd have to start the first two games without. What's the break like? Would you be able to get Scherzer and DeGrom to start 1 and 2, or would they be? Would they be on short rest?
Maybe 2. They'd be on full. Game 2, they'd be on full. Tuesday would be the start of that round. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, day off, Monday, Tuesday.
Let's see. Friday, October 7th
would be the start
NL
of the
wild card game 1. Then NL wild card. Let's say it goes 3 games, right? You guys beat the Padres in 3 games.
Yeah.
Then you got 1 day off, and then you're playing the Dodgers on the road.
Yeah.
On Tuesday. So yeah, you'd go DeGrom on Friday.
DeGrom Friday.
DeGrom Tuesday. You're gonna pitch DeGrom on Tuesday then?
No,
I don't know if DeGrom's the guy to pitch on short rest.
I'd go Scherzer Friday as long as he's healthy.
Scherzer game 1.
Scherzer game 1 of the wild card series, so that there's a chance he can come back and pitch that.
I don't think they're gonna do Scherzer game 1 though. I think they'll do DeGrom.
I also the thing that you have to ask yourself, let's say the series goes 2 games and you don't have to use Chris Bassett. Chris Bassett would start that game 1 in Los Angeles, correct?
Yeah.
And then you go whatever your order is after that.
All right. See, this is weird though. The Yankees are playing game 1 of the ALDS on Tuesday. All the DSs start on Tuesday.
Right.
But
American League has off Wednesday, correct?
Yeah. See, that's weird. I don't know why they did 1 game and then gave them off.
Yeah.
So they're
what? Format's very weird this year.
Yeah, what? During the week, it's like 1 game, then off. 1 game off, and then the weekend comes and they do back-to-back games.
They screwed it up.
3 games. They'll do Monday too if necessary. They'll do 3 games in a row. This is weird.
It's very weird. They did not do a good job with this. And of course it's their own fault because of the lockout. But this is their own fault.
It's TV deals too, probably.
Sure. This is it's a dark place. This is a dark place to be if you are a New York Mets fan. Let's just say that. Yeah, so I mean, if you win the series in two, you end it on Saturday. You have Bassett for that first game in LA. You know, the thing about winning the division was possibly, let's say the Mets did win the division, and the Braves had that. The Braves had to play the wild card series. They would go to LA, and
Right.
they can they'll knock each other out.
Right.
One of them stands, and then you deal with that team in the NLCS.
What? Yes. Oh,
And if it was the Braves, you'd have home field advantage.
yeah. Now the Braves are in that boat. They just got that luxury.
And again, if you're the Atlanta Braves, you're not afraid of anybody. You're not afraid of anybody. The one thing I want to go back to the starters quick of the Mets. You know, these guys get paid a ton of money. DeGrom wants to get paid a ton of money, and rightfully so, you would say. I think Met fans expected these guys to be great. They expected them, and myself included, they expected a vintage, 12 strikeouts, 7 innings, no runs, 1 run from Jacob DeGrom Friday night. And you did not get that. You got 6 innings, 11 strikeouts, 3 runs, pretty close to that. But the Mets didn't win the game. The Mets didn't win the game because they didn't hit. And one of the guys they're missing is Starling Marte in this lineup, who's been out since early September, mid-September, around there. He got hit in the hands against the Pirates. He's been gone since then. And he was arguably their best offensive player, their most clutch offensive player for a very long time, especially in the second half of the season. And you missed him. But Lindor, Alonso, what did they do this series? What did they do this weekend? Nothing. The only guy that stepped up in this series was Jeff McNeil, who had a huge series. Huge.
Yeah, that's what you need your stars to do. You need them to step up in these big spots, and those guys didn't come through. So we'll see what happens come postseason time. I mean, it's different. The Braves are a really experienced team, and I hate using that cliche sometimes because it's like, well, what does that mean? Like these guys have been playing baseball their whole lives. They've played in high pressure moments. You play in New York, so uh, I'll give the Mets a little pass. Guys like Alonso and Lindor right now. When Alonso, I'll give Alonso a pass. Lindor, he's been there with Cleveland, right? He's been in big spots. He's played at Yankee Stadium in the DS. He's hit a grand slam off the Yankee. We know what about his playoff history. But you're on the road in Atlanta. It's one series. It's 3 games. You give them a little break. But come playoff time, if these guys still the bats are sleeping and stuff, and they don't come up in these big spots, you need to be held accounted for. No one who gives a crap about experience and whatever. The game doesn't change. You're still playing the same baseball game. You're not playing something different. So you got to step up in these spots.
You know what absolutely sucks? You look over the other side, right? And you like the Braves. You do. Freddie Freeman, your favorite player. He played there his whole career before this year. You like the Braves.
Not my favorite player anymore though.
No.
Spineless. Went to LA.
Right.
Cried about it. Give me a break.
Yes. You like the Braves though. And
right.
There's so much to like about them. They got a great fan base, supportive fan base. They have an unbelievable stadium.
Oh, I want to go, man. That looks so cool.
It's unbelievable how nice it looks over there. They've got great uniforms. They've got great players, great management. These guys want to stay there. Apparently, the facilities that they have for their players are amazing. They've got no income tax over there. It is the perfect place to play. And these guys are locked up for so long, for the next 10 years. They are all there, and they want to stay there. If they're not locked up, they want to be locked up.
Yeah.
This was the Mets' year to do it.
Yeah.
Just to win the division, to give themselves the best possible opportunity to get to the World Series and possibly win it. And even with the starting pitching, doesn't matter. You put all the pitching together, bullpen starters, the Braves are better. Their offense is better. Their front office is better. Their home field advantage is better. There's not a single thing the Braves don't do better than the New York Mets.
Yeah. You guys, but right now, yeah, they're better, obviously. But it doesn't mean, obviously, the Braves are going to be great for a while. You could tell, obviously, they have a lot of young guys locked up for a long time. But it doesn't mean that it's just going to be their division for the next however many years. You guys could, Steve Cohen has plenty of money in the bank, and you guys got Brett Beatty and Alvarez. You got these guys in the farm system. I'm sure the Mets will be very busy in the offseason. The Mets might win the World Series this year. Obviously, that's still not off the table. Like, this is
I
a
know.
tough moment. It's a tough moment, but the Mets are still in the playoffs. Anybody who gets in has a chance. So the Mets could easily, beat the Padres, and then they could take the Dodgers. If I'm the Mets, this might sound crazy. All right. I'm going to try to brighten your day right now. You ready?
Please do.
So you guys just lost to the Braves, lost the division. It sucks. Now you don't have the bye, whatever. You should beat the Padres, okay? You should beat the Padres. I know you're not feeling very confident right now, but the
Padres won the season series. I know it means nothing, but
Braves are amazing. They have your number. You should beat the Padres.
okay.
Now you play the Dodgers. I'm happy as a Met fan that I have the Dodgers in a best of 5 and not a best of 7.
Sure.
Because to me, the bigger range of games you have to win, the less parity there will be, right?
Yes.
We could agree the Dodgers on paper are a better team than the Mets.
Yes.
They're the best team in baseball. So now you could beat the Dodgers, and you only have to beat them 3 times. You don't have to beat them 4 times. And you guys have held your own against the Dodgers too.
Yep.
You beat them at Citi Field in that series the last time you played them. So increased odds of beating the Dodgers. Now, let's say the St. Louis Cardinals, all of a sudden the Atlanta Braves are throwing off their game. They're like, what the hell is going on? There's a chance the Braves could get knocked off in the DS, right? It's more unlikely than likely, but it's still a possibility. And all of a sudden you could be playing the Cardinals in the NLCS. So listen, season's not over.
The season's not over, and something that I don't want to. This sucks. This feeling sucks, and I hope that I don't have the same feeling Friday night when I'm walking into Citi Field, going to see my first playoff game ever in person. I hope that feeling isn't lessened by that. That's
right.
Number 1. Number 2, I kind of forgot what number 2 was.
Attaboy.
My brain's all over the place, but I mean that's really the main point. I don't want to feel less excited that I'm going to go see my team play in the playoffs for the first time. And it kind of feels that way right now that I don't even care. You know what? See what happens. I don't want to spend this money to go, but I'm going to most likely.
It's
a loss. It's a lost feeling.
It sucks.
It sucks.
Think about also to just make yourself, it's going to hurt no matter what. You guys lost the division. It sucks. But think about it. If I would have told you at the beginning of the year, the Mets are going to win 99, 100 games, whatever they're going to end up with now. And they're going to be the first wild card team. They're going to host a home series in the playoffs. You'd be like, hell yeah. Like, that's awesome. So we weren't even sure. When we did our prediction show, I think I had the Mets as like the last wild card.
You didn't have them make it.
Nobody had. Did I really not have them make it? I think what the first team out then?
Yeah.
Nobody really had the Mets as like, everybody was like, oh, they could be like that surprise team this year. But I think a lot of people would be shocked if you said, wow, they won 100 games. Like, holy crap.
Yeah, now it's even more shocking that they won 100 games and they don't even win the damn division.
Yeah, I know. It's unfortunate.
The one thing I wanted to say was, I think I said this to you. I said it to a few people over the last few weeks. And I said,
yeah, I didn't have them make the playoffs. Jesus.
As the wild card team, I said, as a division winner, I don't want to be that team that faces one of those teams in the wild card round that got hot and then you were just in their way in the division series. You know what I mean? I felt like maybe one of these World Series teams were going to come from getting their feet wet early, getting, a little bit of a rush and getting hot in the wild card round and then just going through. Cause I think sitting that week off that you're going to have as a division winner, I don't like that. I didn't love the feeling of, you like the break, but I didn't love just sitting, especially for that long.
Possible. I mean, listen, they're not actually going to be sitting. I think we all know that. Like,
yes,
they'll be taking BP every day and whatever. But yeah, I mean, it's a solid point. Honestly, I don't really buy it. I think I don't think it really matter. I think it's still an advantage. You're gonna.
No, I do too.
especially if those are high stress games and stuff like that. Then you come in, you got to go to another. You're on the road now, against the team who had a bye. It has their ace on the mound for game one, so they'll feel the momentum will still definitely be on the home team side, the higher seeds side.
I called you, I think a month ago. It was a while ago, and I said, you know what? I'm mentally prepared for the wild card round. The Braves are like closing it. It was like really close. It was a while ago. It wasn't, I don't even think it was September. And I said, I'm ready for the wild card round.
Yeah.
And you're like, stop it. I'm like, no, I am. It is what it is. You never know what's gonna happen. And I'm not. It's gonna be, it can be anything. Like you just talked about the 5-game series. Anything can happen. Anything can happen in any series in the Major League Baseball playoffs, but especially in a 3-game series. I mean, you don't know.
Yeah.
You just don't know. And one thing I want to say also, we're talking about, playoff teams and what kind of wins. Nobody knows exactly what wins in the playoffs. Everybody talks, oh, the Mets have DeGrom and Scherzer. You don't want to face that. And sure, nobody would want to face those two guys back to back and then Bassett as a 3. That's not ideal,
Right.
but it doesn't matter.
Right.
Unless those guys are on their complete A game, it does not matter who you're facing. If that offense is hot, if that offense is rolling, you're good. And you need I think the one constant thing, said this a couple of weeks ago, the one constant thing is having a good bullpen. That's the constant thing.
Mm-hmm.
You got to get big outs late in games
Mm-hmm.
when it matters. And these starting pitchers, sure, the most important moment of the game could be like it was in the 3rd inning today with Bassett and he couldn't get the big out.
Yeah.
But a lot of the times, those really important spots are late in the games when you're going to need the bullpen because your starter's out of the game because they don't go deep into games.
Yeah.
So it's such an old thing. And I know we've talked about it, but it's such an old cliche thing. You need the starters. You need the starters. You need guys that can get outs. That's what you need in high leverage situations. And I don't know if the Mets have that.
Stuff. It's a completely different animal in the postseason. Like you just said, everybody says you need starters, but how often in baseball nowadays are we going to see a guy go out, give you 7, 8 innings in the postseason? It doesn't really happen anymore. I mean, it happened once in a while. Guy will have a really nice start, but they take these guys out early, and we know about the analytics of the 3rd time around the order and everything like that. And you need guys to come in and get outside of the bullpen. You're 100% right, and that's why I remember I said to you, you were like, I love Buck Showalter. I love he's so good, and that's perfectly okay. You could love your manager, but I would joke with you, and I'd be like, wait until you guys play in the postseason, and Buck puts somebody in that shouldn't be in the game, gives up a home run, then all of a sudden it's I hate Buck Showalter, but that's the way it is in baseball because the postseason is a completely different animal, and managing is so important in the postseason because it's like one wrong move. What do we think about when we think about Kevin Cash? The first thing that comes to mind for me is taking Blake Snell out in the World Series. That's like everybody's first thing because he was dealing, but he didn't care. He said 3rd time through the order, let me take him out. They lost the game. They lost the World Series. So it's so important.
It's very rare though that we say, oh, when you think of a manager and you think of like the first thing that pops in your head, like Kevin Cash, obviously you think of that. Oh, it's almost like talking about a left tackle. If you don't hear his name, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
If you don't hear the manager's name,
like
probably doing a good job. Yeah, you're right. And Buck Showalter, other than, the occasional move that I just completely disagree with, like anybody else, I was thinking about this the other day too, how, Buck was supposed to be not this analytical guy. And I haven't had an issue with Buck Showalter. I love what he's done for this team. I love listening to interviews that he does. I don't think he's been a problem at all. I trust him. We'll see what happens in the postseason. You're 100% right. But I think Buck Showalter has done an excellent job, and I think he's manager of the year in the National League. But I don't have a problem with him. You want to talk about some happier things? Quickly, before we go?
Jets win, Giants win.
Talk about the Jets. Zach Wilson. Right. Zach Wilson comes back from the injury. Tough start to the game. I mean, he catches the
I just lost my fantasy game.
Oh, that's pain. Thought something else happened. I was like,
well. All right, well, hold on. This could be good though. Got a little parlay going. Are you riding that parlay with us?
Which one?
The Leonard Fournette, like anytime touchdown.
The one that I created?
Yeah, is that your? Yeah, did you put that in?
The CEH over receiving yards,
Yep.
Kelsey touched. What's happening?
Leonard Fournette just scored. So we need CEH. Oh my God. It's so close.
Over yards. The
Yeah.
Sunday night football game is happening right now,
But
obviously.
he doesn't, he needs 16 receiving yards and I win so much money.
How much did you put on it?
I had like 13 something in my FanDuel account, which I kind of shouldn't be. Whatever. There's some sketchy. I'll tell you off the show. But anyways, I was like, I need to just get this money out of my account. So I put the 13-12 on it or whatever. And it's to win 262. So
All right.
I just need, oh God. It's a little slip screen. This Clyde Edwards-Helaire. That's all we need.
Let me ask you, what's the score of the game?
41-31.
Wow, it's a pretty close game.
3:30 left.
Time? Oh shit.
Yeah.
Excuse my language. All right, yeah. So we got that going. That's our.
But yeah, let's
parlay
save it.
going.
We'll save it for later in the week. But Jets win, looked great. Zach had a hell of a fourth quarter. The Giants game, I mean, Jesus Christ, is about what I expected it to be. Saquon is back. He's amazing.
Daniel Jones running the ball. He looked good running.
Yeah, he looked pretty good.
I've never seen, other than the Green Bay Packers, I've never seen a more untalented wide receiver room in my entire life. And the Packers have a better wide receiver room.
Right.
I mean, it's just Jones has nobody to throw the ball to. They ran 20 bootlegs in this game to try and get it to tight ends. So it was pretty gross. But the running game was special today. It was great. And the Giants get a win in their beautiful uniforms. You see the Saints helmets? They look disgusting this morning.
Gross.
I woke up.
Yeah, and Kirk Cousins sucks. I'm so tired of watching that dude. They won, but he's terrible.
Who's the best team in that division?
I don't know.
I don't think it's the Packers. We'll get into this later in the week. This was our first ever emergency pod. The Mets lose the NL East, and we'll see what happens in the postseason. When we later in the week, obviously we'll do all the NFL, and I think we'll be right at the brink of the start of the postseason. So that'll be a fun episode.
I'm getting excited.
Come on. Good.
It'll wear off. By the time Friday comes, you'll be telling me, yo, I'm pumped. Let's go.
I really hope that's the case. I'll be walking in the city. If I got to take off from work right now, buy the tickets. I'll be ready to go.
You will. And hey, hopefully one of us is going to a World Series parade this year.
Oh,
both of us, like, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we have a bet going that if one of our teams, if the Yankees win the World Series, I got to go to the Yankees parade with JM in a Yankees jersey, and then vice versa. If the Mets win the World Series, JM's going to come with me to the Mets parade in a Mets jersey. So we'll see what happens. Yes, I do hope one of us has that opportunity. Yep. But that'll do it. Thank you for listening. We'll talk to you later in the week.